Well, it's one of the most historic tracks out west, and it's one of the most favored. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeremy Skog. Pleased to be with you for some PCA sim racing around Laguna Seca. Of course, as we know, this is the second iteration of Laguna Seca, and of course, we couldn't do this race without Princess Cruises. And as the 2025 PCA title sponsor, as the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they offer exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA Concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. That's 833-679-2188. So it's season 14, round number 4 of PCA Sim Racing Series. Let's take a look at our grid real quick, as Ryan Cowley will be alongside James Martin on the front row. Robert Neville, I should say, and Mike Matson round out row 2. Row 3, Kellen Heimbucher and Mark Foley out of the Maverick region is in 6th spot. Then next, Rex Jariwala and Mark Doran. J.R. Gregory, good to see him alongside Devin Hopkins in row 5. Aaron Nations and Kevin Orr out of the Hurricane region will look to burst out of the 12th spot. Row 7, I should say, John Gibson, that beautiful multicolored GT3 alongside Jake Urbino, Jason Barnett, and Steve Komats in row 8. Row 9, Charlie Boyer and Jeremy Hall. We move on to row number 10, where it's Richard Woodloff and Craig Stretzloff. That's Patrick Adamczyk and Gary Rice. Scott Bowers and Dale Green round out 24th spot. Then you go back to Anthony James, a rookie, in 25th, alongside Marcel Eunice in 26th. Aaron Sunday will race Thursday and start 27th. Nathan Abukala is in 28th. Then it's Mark Rondo and Charlie Ferrer in row number 15. Then you got to go back to row 16 to find Chad Kason and Mehmet Karasay. Then you got Chris Sherburne and Peter Coomer, Kenneth Exridge, and Anthony Carbone Jr. in the 30. So far, we're looking forward to this session right now as the cars are making their way around. A beautiful sunset here at Laguna Seca, as we have the point standings for you. Ryan Cowley leads by, I would say about 60 points over Kellen Heimbucher so far in this club class season. That's Jake Urbino and Mike Matson. John Gibson rounding out your top 5, only 10 spots back as the checker flag has fallen on this session. James Martin, J.R. Gregory, Scott Bowers, Dean Chapman, and Dale Green rounding out your top 10. As the field grids up for this race, absolutely love the pictures that we have for you. Ramiro Agustin Cisneros is making me look and sound so good here at Laguna Seca. Of course, we know the famous corkscrew turn is one of the highlights of this facility, and that's why everybody comes. They watch the cars go down. I've got to say, my old man was the one sent me a video. Been here? No, not yet. 19 degrees Celsius, the ambient temperature. Same with the track temperature. 82 degree humidity, so a little sticky out there, but partly cloudy at 7:31 a.m. game time on May 15th. So glad to have you with us here at Laguna Seca. If you have any questions for myself or anything on the broadcast, feel free to reach out on the YouTube chat. We'll try and answer them in short order. But nonetheless, we are just about ready to get set to go racing here at Laguna Seca. Glad to have you with us as Barney has that green flag in sight. The field works their way around the final corner as they start to get set up and they pick up speed around turn number 11. They'll set themselves up for turn 1. Turn 2 might be a little bit treacherous, but the green flag is out. We're underway here for the 4th race of the season with Porsche. Ryan Cowley with the lead so far. James Martin, though, trying to go high, wide, and handsome around the Andretti hairpin. Here comes Robert Neville as we have a little bit of argy-bargy there around the hairpin, but still your top 5 already single file as everybody so far so good, making their way around to turn number 4, setting up for turn number 5. Cowley with a decent advantage so far. Your top three starting to open up a little bit of a gap. Now we see the cars work their way around turn number 6. They begin the uphill climb towards 7 and the corkscrew. As I should say, that's turn number 6. A little bit of a kink there. Now they'll begin the further uphill climb. You see a little bit of gravel there offline. You don't want to go too offline there as you set yourself up for turn number 7 and into 8. Again, this is an hour race with Cowley leading so far over Neville. We see a replay of Jason Barnett involved in an early incident there off of turn number 4 involving a couple of other cars, but they're back underway. So far as a little bit of gravel there. No harm, no foul. James Martin worked his way into the top 10 as you saw on the left-hand side of your screen as lap 1 will be complete here shortly, but Robert Neville with a little bit of closing in there. Charlie Boyer, the other driver who was involved in that opening lap melee. The Intermountain Region driver, Ryan Cowley, your leader so far. Trying to find some other battles here in the tower on the left-hand side of your screen. As Cowley leading Neville and Heimbucher for the top 3 right now. They've opened up about a 2-second gap between themselves and the rest of the field so far. And Aaron Nation's falling back a couple of spots. Not sure if he's off track or anything, but he's fallen back to 14th as Gibson, Orr, and Garbino have all gotten around him. And looks like another incident there has befallen another driver as Nation's falling further back in the field. Stretzloff now into that 14th spot. And Cowley's opened up enough of the lead to where Heimbucher's closed in on Neville. Down the corkscrew, they'll make their way through the downhill portion. Jason Barnett with a black flag, so he'll have to come in and serve at least a drive-through penalty. As look at Heimbucher trying to look to the inside around turn number 10. As Heimbucher loses a little bit of spot, he's got Jarawala and Matson there. Closing in for 3rd spot at the bottom step of the podium. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there from Matson in the number 11. Your Jersey Shore region driver sitting there in 4th spot, trying to reel in Heimbucher for 3rd. As Jariwala taking that multicolored number 11. Here's Mohamed Karsay. Oh, little bit of a spin there. Might have had a little bit of a help, but none. Oh, just heavy contact there. And that's going to happen. That could happen at any point with as blind as turn 11, because sometimes you see where Mohamed was. There's a couple other cars that are exhibiting some damage. But in real life, you really don't want to hit the nose of those Porsches because that's where that radiator is. You're on board with Mike Matson as he tries to close in on Jariwala for 4th spot. Down the straightaway, we do see that Heimbucher has caught up to Neville for 2nd as well. Tries to look to the inside. Neville taking the defensive line through the corkscrew as just the drop there. I just absolutely love all these onboard cameras when they come down through the corkscrew. So Matson losing just a little bit of ground, not too much though. Again, it's an hour race. We're 5 minutes in, so anything can really happen. Scheduled 43 laps as now Heimbucher goes to 2nd place for the time being as Neville's going to almost lose another spot to Jariwala for 3rd. They're side by side as Jariwala will have the advantage around the Andretti hairpin. So Neville's lost 2 spots in 2 corners. Oh, but I'll say this, Neville doing all he can to still stay in that 4th spot, the 3rd spot as he closes in. Here's Dale Green. Let's see what happened there. That's another classic case of you don't want to get a wheel off, but at least he saves it from going right into the tire barrier. And Nathan Abukala in the Roxy paint scheme. Always love to see those AO Racing paint schemes as he spins once again. So 2 spins, 2 corners, but at least this time he saves it from ending up in a little bit of a worse position into the gravel trap. Marcel Eunice, let's see how he spins around the Andretti hairpin and just grabs a little bit too much curb, and or could be just on the gas a little bit too early. as we see the great J.R. Gregory out of the Oregon region with a pretty interesting paint scheme in the Flying Lion Racing number 218. J.R. Gregory, a friend of Race Spot, so good to see him running in the top 10 right there in ninth position, trying to defend off of James Martin, but also trying to close in there off of Devin Hopkins. So Gregory sitting there, no positions gained, no positions lost thus far. So looking pretty good so far, as we are still in some great battles here. We see James Martin trying to catch up to Gregory there for that 9th spot so he can get up 1 spot. Martin with some issues, fell off about 8 spots. Of course, had that issue at the start at the Andretti hairpin. So staying in the top 10 there, still pretty good. Your biggest gainer so far, looking at the charts, is Greg Stretzloff, up 6 spots to 14th. So Martin trying to hold off John Gibson as well in the 911. 911 there for 11 spots. So this is an interesting battle here for 9th spot between Gregory Martin and Gibson. Gibson almost reminds me of the paint scheme last year in the 991 class is in Porsche Sprint Challenge. Name escapes me. I was there announcing, but nonetheless, one of the Kelly Moss drivers having something close to that. As still Gibson running that sharp number 911 around the Andretti hairpin, as he's losing just a little bit of ground. Now we're looking at Mike Matson once again. Matson kind of holding steady there in 5th spot. Neville and Doran equal distance apart so far, as we see another, let's see what Komats has happened to him, is loses just a little bit of ground, and that's another problem that you see with turn number 11. You just get one wheel higher, half a groove up, and you could lose, especially getting on getting up near the front. Matson, though, now has to hold off Doran, as Doran is closing in on that number 11 for the 5th spot. Down the corkscrew, as Matson in that 11 trying to keep pace with Neville for that 4th spot, but still losing ground. They're about a second apart right now, working their way around turn number 10, now setting up for turn number 11. This has been kind of a sore spot for Matson, trying to catch up to Neville. And of course, it just takes, you don't want to go off too much there. The more dust that you kick off, the worse that it gets, but still your top 4, they have broken away. Kyle Heimbucher, I should say, Jerry Walla, and Neville. Devin Hopkins trying to also hold off J.R. Gregory, Martin, and Gibson. So 4-car battle for 8th place from that 3-car 9th place battle, as those 4 really in lockstep with one another, working their way around turn number 4, setting up for turn number 5. We'll see how challenging that this is for those 4 drivers. And now 5th driver looks like in Urbino trying to come up to the fray as the uphill climb to the corkscrew begins. It's been a decent run for a lot of these drivers. We'll see how much longer it lasts. 10 minutes into this race with Foley. You see him in the picture. If these guys can catch up, and that's in the next couple laps, they might have a chance at keeping up with Foley. Here's looking out the back of your leader, Ryan Cowley, as Cowley now has Heimbucher to have to deal with here. And a little bit off by Jerry Walla. But here's the thing, we're at that time of the year where in Laguna Seca, you don't want to go off too far, because that sand and that gravel will drag you further off the course. Now setting up for the Andretti hairpin, as Cowley and Heimbucher are 1 and 2. Jerry Wallace sitting back there, the interested spectator at 3rd. What a deep dive by the number 7. He's closed into that lead battle just a little bit longer. So far, so good for the battle for the lead. It's now close to within 0.4 of a second between Cowley and Heimbucher, as we're hearing that Ryan Cowley is trying for his third club class win in a row tonight. So that's an interesting storyline right here, as Cowley has been the class of the field so far. You're on board in the sim with the number 29 of Cowley. I've got to point out, yes, this is a Porsche race, but look at him displaying one of the finer moments of the Rolex 24 this year, with the Corvette giving the #1 salute to the Paul Miller BMW and the racing gloves. That's what I love about sim racing, is these drivers, they take it so seriously, and it's absolutely cool to see their rigs. Also, it looks like down there in the bottom right has a little bit of a switchboard there too. Some of us aspire to have some of that, and you see a lot more drivers using the curved screens. Just a little bit of observations, little neat observations, as Cowley trying to go for 3 in a row. But Heimbucher will have something to say about that. Maybe even Jari Wallace, your top 3, losing a little bit of ground from one another, but still Heimbucher up to second place with 0.5 of a second. We see Marcel Eunice and Anthony James battling for position. That's 23rd spot. So the little up and down day for those two drivers, as we see Jari Wallace now trying to hold off Neville there for that 3rd spot. Neville was up near the front earlier on, fell back just a little bit. So we're still looking pretty good so far, as everybody knows the tail, just a couple of off. So that's the good news, as we've had pretty decent racing so far in this race, about a quarter of the way in. Glad to have you with us here on Race Spot TV. Neville trying to close in on Jari Wally. You also have this battle here for 8th spot. It's between J.R. Gregory and James Martin. Also, John Gibson wants in on that, so Gregory making his way up through the field in that number 218. James Martin there sitting in the golf-like livery in the 705. Still trying to get back up to that 8th spot that he so had. So you've got 2 great battles here up in the front between Jari Walla and Neville for 3rd, Gregory, Martin, and Gibson for 8th. And of course, back there, you also have a great battle for 11th between Gerbino and Stretzloff. You're seeing the wiper on John Gibson being used, so it looks like a little bit of dust being picked up through there, as Gibson gives us this great view at the bottom for that battle between Gregory and Martin. And Jari Wallace opened up a little bit bigger gap between he and Neville, so that's some good news. But that's also opened the door for Matson and Doran to close in on this battle for 3rd and 4th. And of course, not too far away is Cowley trying to hold off Heimbucher. So no matter where you look at the front of the field, there are a lot of great battles, as we see Aaron Sunday holding off a couple of defenders there for that 16th spot. That's Scott Bowers there in the 917. So Bowers trying to get up 1 spot in the number 917. It's fun to see some of the cool liveries that even are in the sim, as Neville knocking out the door for 3rd spot around turn 11. Starts to break as Matson also reels himself in. Charlie Fair sitting there in 25th spot, but we've got our eye on this battle for 3rd place. What a fantastic battle, as Neville trying to do all he can to get back up into that bottom step of the podium provisionally. Oh, I'll tell you what, also Heimbucher losing ground just a little bit. Jari Walla losing a lot of ground, though, as Neville closes within a car length through the Andretti hairpin around turn number 3. And of course, with this race cruising along, Princess Cruises is the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge chain to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. That's 833-679-2188. God, I love this camera going into Going through the corkscrews, Jari Walla holding off Neville, and now Matson. Matson's closed in. Doran, he wants a piece of the action, so we've got a 3-car battle for third place here, coming down the hill into turn number 10. All three within lockstep, but Neville really closing in there in that 087. He's going to look every which way, get in the mirrors to Jari Walla through 11, and no dice there, but Heimbucher going to try another assault there for the lead. So two fantastic battles at the front of the field. There's your battle for the lead as well between Ryan Cowley and Kellen Heimbucher. So Cowley and Heimbucher up front, Jari Walla, Neville, and Matson sitting there in third, fourth, and fifth. Look at the time difference between Heimbucher and Cowley. Heimbucher running a couple of segments faster than Cowley right there, and really the time's about 0.2 of a second apart, but Heimbucher just taking that fishing pole and reeling in the two-time winner this season. As we're watching the battle for the lead, the battle for third place, they're so close to one another. One would have to think that they would be smart enough to hook up and make a 5-car battle for the lead. But nonetheless, we're looking really good here as the field working their way around for the 43rd minute. 43 minutes left to go in this race. It's still anybody's race, as Ryan Cowley looks like that he's trying to do all he can to keep Kellen Heimbucher behind him. So that battle goes around turn number 11. The battle for third, not too far behind. Everybody in single file formation so far. Nobody yet making a charge, but it's still plenty early in this race, where the 29 is still has a healthy lead, going for 3 in a row tonight. Oh, just look at this battle for the lead here. About a car length separates the 29 and the 14. As both drivers try to go for glory here. And of course, nobody making a move as of yet. So plenty of time sizing up your opponent. That's probably the best of all options right now. As everybody working their way up the hill, down the hill. Cowley has opened up a 1-second gap, and I think this sector right here is where he's really fast. Here's Anthony Carboni. Oh, talk about almost taking out your competitor and then saving it. Look at this slow-mo, just heavy on the brakes. Does he miss all the cars going through? He does, as he stops right next to the corner station. Oh, talk about a save of the race. Well done, Carboni Jr. Now we're on board with Robert Neville sitting in fourth place, trying to get to that bottom step of the podium. And here's what's interesting. I like how he has in his sim the view of the screens, and he uses the VR. Also, as a nerd, as a TV nerd, somebody who's done TV, I like the chroma key there, the green screen. So you get to see what he's, his view, and then you get to see him racing. Look at how calm, cool, and collected he is, and that wheel just moving all sorts of every which way as he works his way through turn number 5. So Robert Neville losing just a little bit of ground. Mehmet Karasay and Dale Green both hit the pits. Anthony Carbone loses a lap as well. As the number 11 of Mike Matson loses a little bit of ground there. Northeast Region driver was in contention for that third spot, I should say, but gonna save the tires just a little bit. Of course, we do know that some of the drivers still working out the new kinks with the tire model in the GT3 cars, but a lot of them have figured this out. So it's interesting to see different tire strategies at play, as Jason Barnett looks like a little bit more bent up and takes a spin coming off of the corkscrew and gets back underway. Carbone with another issue. I think this is why he's one lap down, As once again, oh, this looks like just a replay of, unless he did it again. Did he do that again? Oh my goodness. Oh, Ramiro telling me in my ear that, yeah, he did the same exact thing twice. Well, insanity is doing something different, expecting the same results, and he did the same thing and expected the same results. Here comes Gibson now. He's gotten around JR Gregory for that 9th spot. So we'll see if JR can get back up to 9th spot. Still sitting in the top 10 and has a gap between he and Gerbino for that 10th spot as well. Gibson, the 911 Redline motif Porsche, looking oh so slick. Jari Walla's fallen back 2 spots, 3 spots. What is going on with the 7 there? As now Neville and Doran, is that the puff of smoke that we see? That maybe Jari Wall is still on circuit, so something must happen. We'll get a replay here in just a little bit. But Robert Neville is now your 3rd place driver, with Mark Doran sitting in 4th. Mike Madsen rounding out your top 5. Here comes the replays. Jari Wall, yeah, he's just going to go off here at the corkscrew. Oh, he misses the wall, but still able to hang on, loses a lot of ground, lets some drivers by. Most likely got a slowdown penalty, but Jari Wall is still up 1 spot from his qualifying position. Neville sitting there in 3rd spot. A great showing out of the 087 Retail Architects GT3. As he's got Mark Doran still knocking at the back door. Of course, all that mayhem that Jari Walla caused, well, that's given your leaders a chance to open up a almost 7-second gap between 2nd and 3rd place. So Cowley doing all he can to go for 3 in a row, but Neville nice and comfortable sitting there in 3rd place for the time being. Love this shot of what would be a car sitting there just off the nose of the cars. iRacing giving us some beautiful shots of Laguna Seca, of course, of these cars as well. Absolutely gorgeous to see these in action. And it's still a bucket list track for me to go out to Laguna Seca and either call or even watch a race. I'm not picky. But Robert Neville doing all he can to keep Doran and Madsen behind him. You saw for a brief second that battle for the lead to Cowley and Heimbucher. You have Mark Rondo sitting there in 11th spot, also trying to hold off for 22nd spot. That's Charlie Boyer in the 013. Boyer trying to clean off the screen. Lots of dust being picked up here as Neville, Doran, and Madsen still closing in. But Boyer, he's up under that rear wing. Let's hang with this battle here as Boyer trying to go for 21st. He's going to go right to the inside of the Andretti hairpin. Deep dive, and he's going to get it for the time being. Does he keep that Kieran Racing Porsche ahead of him? He does. An Northern New Jersey region driver is up to 21st. So we're still looking pretty good here as the field really working their way around nice and clean as Drexloff trying to hold off Aaron Nations. Nations was up at the front early on, fell back with a couple of incidents, but trying to get back up through the field. The number 31 trying to get around the 37 Bilstein GT3, that 992 Cup car. Of course, not too far away, they've got Kevin Orr in the 36 to contend with, so these two can hook up and get to the 12th place driver of Orr. Of course, Gerbino's now caught up to J.R. Gregory for 10 spots, so that's another battle we're going to watch. Lots of battles in and around this field. Mark Foley sitting there in 7th spot. Might have a battle with James Martin here shortly. John Gibson, also the interested spectator. Here's J.R. Gregory out of the Oregon region, sitting in 10th spot. Has to hold off Jake Gerbino for that 10th spot. The Flying Lion Racing, like on that rear bumper, already the plus 10 horsepower sticker, so might need 1 or 2 more of those, as he's the only driver with that plus 10 horsepower sticker. And Foley holding off Martin. Martin's going to look to the outside, I should say, of the corkscrew. And this is the battle for 7th place. Gibson sitting there and wait in case something goes wrong or if they decide to race a little too hard. But Foley looking pretty good so far in that number 316 Sim Shop Porsche. And we are hearing that there are no incident point penalties until they get to 25 points. 25 points is a disqualification in iRacing. Here's Steve Comatz. Great to see his on board. And I like this. Less is more. Now, some of us have, over the ear, full closed ear headphones. I have a professional headset. Comatz just has it looks like a USB headset. So it just goes to show that you don't need a full setup to go racing in spite of, okay, yeah, he has timing. He has, the force feedback wheel, but still, you can kind of use stuff that you have at home. You'll find something around the house. It'll work. It really will, I promise. Here's the battle for the lead. Ryan Cowley is still trying to chase down 3 in a row. The Intermountain driver in the number 29. Looking pretty good. He's been able to keep drivers at bay. Heimbucher's been the one who's been the closest so far. Almost made a pass for a position, but now we're starting to get to the point where drivers are about to be put 1 lap down. And we know how tough passing is here at Laguna Seca. It can be at a premium. You've got to find the right spot to do it. There's only a handful of passing zones, but when will that happen? Dale Green, I believe, is the first driver who is set to be 1 lap down as another lap goes down into the books. Jake Gerbino has gotten around J.R. Gregory. Oh, Gerbino with a little bit of a power slide around turn number 11 as Gregory's in the pits. So J.R. Gregory comes into the pits as he's going to fall down through the order, but Gerbino going to work his way up to 10th. Now sets his sights on 9th place, James Martin. So a nice little call as Rex Jariwala goes back up to the top 5, but Jake Gerbino trying to close in and get 1 spot higher in the top 10. Let's see what happened here when he decided to do the power slide. I think it was just one of those cases where, yeah, he just got tire off there in the runoff and got a little power slide. Mark Foley holding off a lot of drivers at bay. Matson, Gibson, and Martin, and now Gerbino there for that 6th spot. He's been doing a lot. Official Demo saying this track has a Knock Hill vibe to it. Do it for the Scots. Oh, great to hear the Scots be mentioned here. Never thought of this track as kind of a Knock Hill feel to it. I gotta take a look at Knock Hill again. But Gibson up 5 spots so far this race out of the Rally Sport region. Oh, almost gets into the back of Matson there coming off of turn number 11 as J.R. Gregory back on the circuit in 22nd spot. Aaron Sunday falling back to 21st. So Gregory you see what he can do, how high he can climb. Here comes Gibson as Matson's going to go high, wide, and handsome as Foley's not going to let him have it in the Andretti hairpin. But still side by side for that 7th spot. They're still neck and neck around turn number 3. Give Foley that 6th spot so far. Aaron Sunday into the pits as well, so that fallback was him just getting ready to dive into pit road. This battle in the middle of the top 10 has been absolutely scintillating as now Foley, I should say Gerbino, trying to go around Gibson for that 8th spot. Gerbino really making quick work of getting back into the top 10 as Gibson sitting there in 8th, holding off Gerbino, and now Martin goes around Gerbino for that 10th spot. A little bit of dust being kicked up. Oh, and was that a Zanardi line we saw out of Martin? He falls back to 10th. I believe it may have been, so may have gotten a little bit of a slowdown penalty for shortcut in turn number 8, the second half of the corkscrew there. So here comes Foley. Through turn number 11, nose to tail, and he's got his sights set on Jari Walla. Mike Matson with a little bit of a slide job through 3 and right into that gravel trap, that gravel runoff. Thankfully, it's so deep. And Jari Walla, let's see what happened here. Yep, just a little bit too fast entering, and as we like to say, that back end likes to see what the front end's looking at sometimes, as Jari Walla gets back underway. Foley, Matson, Gibson, 3-car battle for 6th place. I'll tell you what, Foley has made that Porsche so wide throughout here, but in a good way, as Foley has held on to 6th spot with many attacks from Matson, Gibson, even Gerbino in some spots. So this battle, I think, is just going to go down to the wire as we're just past halfway. So half the race down, half the race to go. As Foley, this race here, you can just throw a blanket on it and it would just encompass it. Although Foley getting a good run coming off of the corkscrew. So let's give Matson and Gibson a chance to kind of figure out how they're going to catch up to that 6th place car, as behind them is also Jake Gerbino. So Gerbino's back in the fight from 9th spot. Jari Walla is coming into the pits as well. So Jari Walla comes in from 5th spot. Let's give him Foley a chance to close up. Patrick Adamczyk in the Skeleton Spike livery this week. I didn't get a chance to see how Skeleton Spike looked in the dark at Road Atlanta. So if anybody saw it, let me know what you thought of it. Really, from the pictures, it looked like it was an absolutely fantastic, but I've got to say, PJ Hyatt and the entire AO Racing team, what they are doing for motorsport in general by having these paint schemes and having all this merchandise is absolutely fantastic. If you get a chance to go to an IMSA race, take a look around. I think I saw more AO Racing apparel than I did any other team, and that includes those low other GT cars, which we know all about. But regardless, kudos to PJ Hyatt for doing this. J.R. Gregory down 12 spots from his grid position in 21st. Rex Jari Walla with a good pit stop and gets out ahead of J.R. Gregory. So that was an interesting move out of the 7. Jari Walla trying to close in on the 0-11 as well. Aaron Sunday makes another appearance on the pit road, which is quite interesting. Jari Walla sitting there in 20th spot. Jack Cassione sitting in 16th, trying to close in on, actually trying to hold off Charlie Boyer, I should say, for that 16th spot. Sunday with an 8.9 second pit stop. He's down and underway. Still a great battle for 16th here. That lettuce I see there on the door. That's awesome. As Charlie Boyer trying to close in there for that 16th spot in the 0-13. Boyer slowly making his way up through the field. Not too far up there is Jake Bowers. It's a good battle for 8th place between Gerbino and Martin. Kevin Orr making his appearance into the top 10 as well. The 113 over the 705 right now. And of course, they're not too far away from John Gibson or Mike Matson either. As you got 7th, 8th, 9th, and 7th, 8th, and 9th all within one another. Gibson and Foley there battling for 5th spot. As we're nose to tail for that A spot. Martin going to look to the inside, now the outside. Too far away to make anything happen in that battle for 7th spot. As Gerbino trying to move up. He made his way to the top 10 just a couple of laps ago. And you see the Italian flag on the wing end plates for the 113 as well. Nice little moves there for position. Of course, if you're looking for some sort of move during your vacation, remember the Princess Cruises is a 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA Concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. That's 833-679-2188. Looking at the back of Mark Foley is Gibson trying to close in for that 5th spot. Of course, Gibson also has to deal with Mike Matson there in the 7th position. And you always forget how much of an uphill it is coming off the start-finish line and then the downhill going through the Andretti hairpin as Foley in the 316 Sim Shop GT3 making another lap here around Laguna Seca. As everybody trying to find just that extra bit of position. Of course, now we're starting to get to the closing stages of the race. We'll see a little bit more aggression pickup. By the way, let's go back to that 911 of John Gibson, because I remember the driver, and I know Niels is gonna hit me for this, and I apologize. Niels Meister. That's the closest I can think of with John Gibson. John Gibson's 911 paint scheme. You see it right there. No, it's headed towards turn number 10. But still, Gerbino holding off James Martin for that 8th spot. It's Gerbino and Martin for 8th. Not too far away from that. There's a 911 of Gibson, looking like Niels Meissner's old 991. I got Kevin Orr trying to hold off Aaron Nations. Nations trying to work his way back into the top 10. Looks like Anthony James might be coming into the pits here momentarily as he's fallen off like a rock through the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Steve Komatz, though, Adamczyk also in a battle for position, although they are a lap down. But we're still watching this battle for 10th place between Kevin Orr and Aaron Nations. 36 over 31. He saw back there, too, Jeremy Hall and Greg Stretzloff. Strelzoff, I should say, in the 13th spot. So we got a battle for 10th and a battle for 12th here that we've been closely watching in the closing stages. Almost 2/3 of the way through this hour race. Tell you what, Orr's looking nice and racy through that 5 and into 6 complex, setting up for the corkscrew. He's opened up a couple tenths of a second through the 5-6 complexes. We got one car off. Not sure which one that is, but that might be one of our cars that was falling down through the orders. In not a precarious position as Aaron Nations drops a wheel off Gerbino up to 7th place now, as he's not going to hold it for long as Matson's going to try and go around the outside. And indeed, actually, he will, as I'm very much mistaken. It's now Gerbino trying to get into that 6th spot with John Gibson in the number 911. Down to the Andretti hairpin. I'll tell you, Gerbino, as of late, has really been looking racy. Here comes Gibson, though, around Foley. So Gibson's made his way up into 5th spot. Foley back to 6th, and now Gerbino's been holding back Matson, Martin, and Orr all throughout the field. Man, what a good race this is right here for the middle of the field. Jason Barnett with a black flag as well in the 495, but Gerbino, Matson, Martin, and Orr, 4-car battle for 10th. Here's why the black flag was drawn for Jason Barnett. Oh, a little bit of contact there, so I think that's why we had that. That almost was. That could have been really nasty had another car been there. So Barnett punting another car off. That was Anthony James in the 216, who was spinning right there in turn number 6. As we go back to live racing, we're 2/3 of the way through the race. Ryan Cowley has tried his best to keep up front, and he really has. That lead has grown and shrank and grown and shrank, but we do see that Gerbino still also holding off several drivers at bay for that 7th spot. Strolls off into the pits. Battle for 18th. Rondo and Jari Walla are tight in a battle there, and Jari Walla knocking at the door of Rondo as both those drivers go off, and here comes Rondo into the pits in the 0-11, so he's going to call time on this battle and give it to Jari Walla as Eunice works his way up into 20th. So drivers trying to pick a right time to pit. With 19 minutes left, we'll see how much longer the last to go in we will be. Of course, still a huge battle for position. There's Heimbucher goes to the lead for the time being as Cowley decides to call time on the lead for now. So Cowley makes his call to the pits, gives the lead to Heimbucher. We'll see if the overcut works out for the 29 or if Heimbucher can last another lap or two, get into qualifying speed, and make his way up to the front. Again, Cowley going for 3 in a row. Heimbucher has something to say about that, as those two have been nose to tail all race long, as Kevin Orr also comes into the pits. So the mad dash is into pit road is coming as Heimbucher trying to tell us that autocross is racing. Heimbucher up 4 spots from his grid spot as Orr sits in his pit box right now. Foley sitting in 5th. I'm trying to see. Cowley comes out in 10th spot. So about a 26-27 second delta is the time lost on pit road. Let's see if Heimbucher can keep that up. So it's going to be a battle between Cowley and Heimbucher. Neville really too far away to make anything happen here, but Foley trying to hold off Gerbino and Matson for position, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Of course, Cowley, the highest, I think Nations came into the pits as well, but working off this timing tower here. Nobody in this top 5 has gone into the pits as of yet, but it's only going to be a matter of time. That much I will say. So still nose to tail as Gerbino going to look to the outside of Foley through the Andretti hairpin. Still too far away to make anything happen. We see Matson and Martin also side by side through the hairpin, but not going to make any dice. Doran opening up, Gibbs opening up a little bit bigger gap there for that 4th spot, but Foley and Gerbino right there. That's the battle we're watching as Gerbino trying to close in under that rear wing of Foley. So it's 316 over 113. They're side by side heading into turn number 5. It's gonna be tough for Foley to defend, but he does as he has the inside line. As Gerbino gonna go high, wide, and handsome, still has the wrong line. Oh, look at that move by Martin, trying to go around Matson for 7th place. They're both side by side, so 2 rows there, but Foley gets the better out of all those drivers and remains in 5th spot. Oh, I love that track view right there. Just absolutely love it. Single file. Heimbucher in the pits. Now we get to see how the delta works. If the overcut work or if Cowley is going to come out with a bigger lead because he's got the warmer tires. He's got 2-lap-old tires as Heimbucher's going to fall down through the order, and this is going to show the aggregate who's going to be the leader on aggregate for when everybody else has to come down pit road and make that call to the pits. As Foley and Gerbino still locked in battle for position. Heimbucher's out. And Cowley gets ahead of him. Let's see what the gap is when they come around through the Andretti hairpin. Of course, it's going to be a shorter pit out So we do know that Heimbucher will close in on Cowley, but again, Cowley has the warmer tires. As we see Cowley, the aggregate leader, we still have your top 8 have to pit. Hall, Bowers, Boyer, and Rice also have to pit. So still a lot of fast drivers need to come in and answer that call. He decides to short pit or whatnot, as Neville and Doran tighten the battle there, as here comes Foley holding off Gerbino. That was a little bit too close going into the corkscrew, as Gerbino doing all he can to try and get around Foley. Doran is into the pits. None of these guys are going to pit with 14 minutes left, so 3/4 of the race has been completed. When does the call to pit get answered? The phone is ringing. When will they make the call? When will they answer the call, I should say? Gerbino trying to go around the outside of Foley. What a fantastic move. Heavy late on the brakes, and Gerbino now in 3rd spot. Maverick Region driver falls back to 4th place, has to deal with Mike Matson, but he wants to get back into 3rd place before he has to answer that call. Gerbino right now trying to open up a little bit of a gap. He does indeed open up a decent sized gap. I would say about a half second between Gerbino and Foley around that turn. Look at that replay there. And it's a field working their way through 5, but just textbook pass by Foley around the outside, and able to just close the door through the hairpin. And Foley's gotten around Gerbino once again, so move Foley back up to that 3rd spot. As James Martin closing in on Matson. The interested spectators, Matson decides to make the call to the pits. So 12:44 left to go in this race. Matson is into the pits, as Nations is into the pits as well. I've got to say a big tip of the cap to Ryan Cowley, because he has opened up a 1.2 second lead over Heimbucher for position, as Foley and Gerbino still locked into battle. Gerbino tried that move again, but Foley was able to close it off through the inside, get on the gas just a little bit faster, as James Martin now is closing in on this battle for 3rd place. So the Foley-Gerbino dance has given Martin a chance to make it a 3rd, to say the least. Mike Matson out of the pits. Scott Bowers with a 9.7 second pit stop. Marcel Eunice into the pits. Get a quick pit stop out of the double out 4. 9.5 seconds, so he'll come out. Oh, look at this, 3 wide almost for position, as James Martin is going to close in on Mark Foley. And now here's the thing, you've got a driver with fresher tires not too far away in Ryan Cowley. Cowley has been the class of the field so far. How is he going to sit there and wait and let everybody pit, or is he going to make a move? If I'm Ryan Cowley, I know the gap I have to the driver that's been 2nd place to me most of the race. I'm going to sit and let this all play out. Gerbino goes into the pits, so he decides to make his mandatory pit stop, as Martin will go around. Robert Neville with a 10-second lead over Gibson so far in this race, but again, top 4 still have to pit. In spite of Gibson being up 11, we'll see where he comes out of the pit cycle, as Gerbino is up on the jacks for his pit stop. It's going to be a 9.4, oh my lord, it's a 10.4 second pit stop by Gerbino. So depending on where Jari Walla and Matson are, he's going to lose a lot of spots on that one. Fall out of the top 10 so far, so drivers ahead of him have pitted so far that have gotten around him. Gary Rice is into the pits. Let's see what he gets, a 10.3, so not a good pit stop out of the number 9. Barnett has yet to hit his pit stall, and Neville and Gibson, I would not be surprised to see them in here shortly, as Mark Foley closing in on 3rd place. James Martin, who also has yet to pit. One has to wonder if he knows that and just trying to save and bide his time. Once that happens, once those top three pit, I have a feeling that they're going to be just gone. Actually, the top four, because there's Mark Foley on the inside. Neville's in the pit. Gibson in the pit. Foley's in the pit. So James Martin is the last driver to pit, and with the Delta, I don't think that he's going to be able to make that happen, as Neville is in the pit for his pit stop. Let's see what he does here as we're watching him launch. 8.7 seconds. What a fantastic stop out of the number 087. Then you've got Martin and Foley have yet to hit their pits. There's James Martin into his pit stall for fuel only, as Mark Foley will also come in as well. So Cowley and Heimbucher now 1 and 2 7/10 of a second. So it's almost about where he's been. So one has to wonder if Heimbucher, with a little bit more fuel, if he didn't take as much fuel, I don't think that we would see the gap we have, because right now the gap is the same as the gap on the track. The gap at the pit stop, same as the gap on the track. Watching Ryan Cowley make his way through the corkscrew once again. Just a masterclass so far this season, as he looks set to continue this winning streak with just about 8.5 minutes left to go, as we have so much space. Now 1.2 seconds separates Cowley from Heimbucher, and of course you also want to separate yourself from land when you go on vacation, right? Luckily for you, Princess Cruises is a 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 13, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 16 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188, 833-679-2188. Dynamite drop, and Johnny, that broadcast school's really paying off. And all those years as a traffic reporter. Sherburne is into the pits. Jari Walla back up into the top 10, setting his sights on John Gibson, but still a couple drivers behind him, and Matson and Gerbino, to try and hold off here in the closing stages of this race. The Jersey Shore region driver really first sitting in 6th place. If we would have told you that he had a couple of incidents, you would be like, well, how's he in 6th place? That's just how good he's been all race long. So good to see that number 7, Charlie Mobile 992, work his way into the top 10. Through the corkscrew, just got a handful of laps left in this race. Less than 5 laps, to say the least, as Greg Orr falls off just a little bit. Strelzoff up to 13th spot, as Kevin Orr trying to get up, battle for 13th. And Jeremy Hall, great to see him back on the top half of the leaderboard. Matson's had a good race as well, but still trying to chase down Jari Walla while holding off Gerbino. Gerbino with an absolute stellar race as well. Working their way around the Andretti hairpin, now into turn number 3. And you just have to give a tip of the cap to these two drivers, Jari Walla and Matson. They've been up and down the order, as Ryan Cowley, what a class he's put on so far in this race. It's a little bit of slower traffic ahead, and Cowley and Heimbucher 1 and 2, as Heimbucher trying to do all he can. He's hoping that this lap traffic up ahead might slow down Cowley, but Cowley has just been absolutely fantastic. He caught the lap traffic at the wrong time. Oh, if I'm Heimbucher, I'm thanking my lucky stars, because now I can close in as the lap traffic is battling one another, heading into the Andretti hairpin. 0.2 of a second separate Cowley and Heimbucher, as Heimbucher takes a look to the inside through the turn number 1. Not going to make anything happen, but still, he's now within striking distance with 5 minutes left to go. Cowley, who's looked flawless all race long, might have to do some defense here in the closing stages, as Heimbucher has lost a little bit of ground, but not too much, as Cowley able to work his way through what could have been an absolutely horrible blunder, as now Heimbucher closes in even more. Less than a car length separate the top 2 cars. Up and around turn number 6, they climb the hill towards the corkscrew, as Cowley does all he can to keep the number 14 behind him. The problem with Cowley is he sees a lot of fluorescent yellow in his mirrors. Cowley and Heimbucher 1 and 2. Now the 29 has some open track, but as you saw, there is a car that is about to be put 1 lap down here as well, but didn't catch him in turn number 11. That's not a place you want to catch a car if you are the leader. Going to be about 3 laps to go here, so time is running out of the hourglass for Kellen Heimbucher if he wants to make any sort of move around Ryan Cowley. Still nose to tail around turn number 4. It's Cowley, it's Heimbucher. Just a little bit of dust being picked up by the number 29. No harm, no foul, as he has been point to point flawless so far in this race. There will be 4 lap cars that these drivers will have to face here in the closing minutes. It's all a matter of where can Cowley catch him, if he can catch him at the right time. You also have Jariwala, Matson, and Gerbino in a battle for 6th place as well. 3 cars there, 2 cars up top. So 2 great battles in the top 10. Once again, we see nothing but great battles here in the top 10 as the field works their way around through the corkscrew into 9 for your leaders. Now through turn number 10. Marcel Yunus has hit that incident limit. He is done for the race. So 2 minutes 42 seconds left, and Yunus has hit your incident limit. Again, 25 points is the disqualification by iRacing, so he is done for the night. But nonetheless, still 2 great battles with Jariwala and Matson. Tight in a battle for 6th place. Now the lap cars will come into play with about 2 laps to go here as Cowley closes in on some of the slower traffic. Heimbucher a little bit further away than he needs to be, but he's banking on the Cowley catching the slower traffic in an inopportune time. It could happen here in the next couple of corners. Could he catch him at the corkscrew? Yes, he could. I have a feeling that that's probably one of the places where he's going to catch him, so I'm really hoping that that is the case. Around turn number 6, got a couple of slower cars up ahead, but they are racing one another, which is very interesting too. Well, Cowley able to get around one of them, dispatch one of them quickly. The other, the 011, closes in, and thankfully Cowley has that little buffer there that he so desperately needs. And Cowley coming around and just getting the lap cars out of the way, putting a couple between he and Heimbucher, and that's all that he needed. Through turn number 11, I do believe we will be on our last lap here at Laguna Seca. Final lap for Ryan Cowley, your leader. Cowley holding on to a 1-second lead. Oh, he loses it just a little bit around the outside. I think it's Heimbucher a chance to go, and Heimbucher's going to spin. It's going to be race over for the 14 as he's going to hold on to 2nd place, but trying to capitalize on a mistake, Heimbucher loses it. One of the slower cars is off course. It's Cowley, who has a decent lead now. The lead, which was as low as 0.2 of a second, is now 2.3 seconds. So Cowley almost saw he threw away the race, but Heimbucher did it on his own, coming off of turn number 2, losing it. So now it's clear sailing for the most part for the number 29. He just has to make it through the corkscrew and all the way downhill. Takes it a little bit more gingerly. Oh, one of the cars are off, but another one takes a couple of wheels off. The Intermountain Region driver is just a couple of quarters away from extending a race-winning streak through turn number 10. Now into turn number 11. If he can make it through here, the race is his. Checkered flag is out. Ryan Cowley makes it 3 in a row. The Intermountain Region driver is your winner here in round number 4 at Laguna Seca. Second place is Kellen Heimbucher. What could have been out of the number 14? As he goes off course, Robert Neville sits in third place, so he will round out your podium. And what a race we saw there near the end with Cowley and Heimbucher. You could have said that the difference was the pit stop, but nonetheless, it was just a little bit of a mistake here and there. And that gave Ryan Cowley his 3rd straight win of the season so far in round number 4. As we take a look at some of the great views of this beautiful facility in the Monterey Valley, as Kevin Orr goes up to 14th spot. Here is your finishing order as we take a look at the fans watching this absolutely fantastic race. One of the many great vantage points here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, as the PCA Sim Racing season number 14 marches on. An absolute banger of a race. We saw great battles all around, whether they be up at the front, as Laguna Seca once again produced. Here's your finishing orders. Ryan Cowley, Kellen Heimbucher, and Robert Neville rounding out your podium. Mark Doran, John Gibson, Rex Jariwala, Mike Matson, Jake Urbino, J.R. Gregory, and Mark Foley all in the top 10. Fastest lap of the race goes to Ryan Cowley on lap 26 with a 1:24.570. Finishing off the bottom half of your top 20, it's James Martin, Aaron Nations, Jeremy Hall, Kevin Orr, Greg Strelsoff, Charlie Boyer, Scott Bowers, Gary Rice, Richard Woodruff, and Chad Casion. We go to the bottom half of the top 30. It's Chris Sherburne, Peter Coomer, David Hopkins, last car on the lead lap. That is Patrick Adamczyk, Mark Rondeau, Dale Green, Anthony James, Steve Komatz, Charlie Ferrer, and Mohamed Karasay. That's Jason Barnett, Kenneth Eskridge, Aaron Sunday, Marcel Eunice, Nathan Abukala, and Anthony Carbone Jr. Only made it just a handful of laps. So that was your race, 42 laps, 1 hour in and around. Let's bring in one of the drivers here. Really, who had a great battle in and around. It's Rob Neville. And Rob, I've got to say, we see you come up and down the pack. So 3rd place doesn't feel too bad.
No, 3rd place is great. I got 3rd place at Spa and then just had a miserable last couple of rounds. So it feels good to be back at the front of the pack.
And of course, you had a great time holding off a lot of the drivers behind you. What was your secret?
Hey, I owe it to Nikki Chan and last 10th for great coaching over the summer, just hitting my marks and not driving in my mirrors and just getting into a rhythm.
And that's half the battle. And of course, I would imagine using the VR headset, that's got to help because you're not focused on what's around you. You're just focused in on your points.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Rob, congratulations on that 3rd place. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, like I said, Nikki Chan, my coach, and my wife for putting up with this ridiculous obsession of mine so I can come out here and have fun.
I know that feeling. Mine's downstairs. Not too happy, but nonetheless, Rob, thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks.
All right, let's go to second place, Kellen Heimbucher, and that's Rob. Nope, we don't want that. Let's go back to Kellen Heimbucher as Kellen finishes off in second place. Kellen, just let's talk about what happened there on that last lap. You were probably so happy to see just a rare mistake out of Ryan Cowley, and then that happened.
Yeah, I'd say excitement got the better of me. I saw him go wide, start to lock up a little bit. I thought, this is my opportunity, and I just, overdid it a little bit, and it didn't work out.
Well, nonetheless, you had a fantastic race. You hung there with Ryan Cowley. And like I was saying in the broadcast, it looked like the difference on the track between the two of you was your pit stop. And I know that you tried to go for the overcut. What was it that kind of kept you going there?
I just wanted to keep Ryan in my sights. So when I saw him jump in, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay out for maybe a lap or two and then come in. That was all the thought I really put in it. I didn't want to really let him out of my sight for too long.
Well, nonetheless, in spite of the error there in turn two, that was a fantastic battle you had. You kept him honest and really gave us some great battles to watch. So well fought second place. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Princess Cruises, PCA, Race Control, you guys. This is an awesome league, and I have a great time.
Well, Colin, congratulations on the second place. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Kellen Heimbucher, your runner-up, and of course, we cannot forget our race winner. Led most of the race. It's Ryan Cowley. Ryan, that was some actually really hard-fought racing there for the lead most of the race.
Yeah, I mean, this track is hard enough to race, but doing it in your rearview mirror just makes it, extra challenging.
It really does. When we were talking with Kellen Heimbucher, he said he wanted to keep you in his sights the whole time. And he even admitted, he goes, yeah, I saw Ryan's little mistake there. I got excited, and that was my downfall. So let's talk about that last lap incident there in the hairpin where you went a little higher than you probably wanted.
Well, he was matching me corner for corner, and I know from watching Kellen and racing with him, like, he can break this car a lot deeper than me. So I knew I had to keep some distance. I tried to break a little bit deeper, and you can see I just stepped over the edge there. That last lap, just a lot of chaos. I mean, there was traffic, and they were spinning in front of us, and that was a lot to take in one lap.
Well, and here's the thing too. I noticed that there was one time you caught traffic in turn number 11. You really couldn't get around them, but you're still able to keep everybody behind you. So it takes a lot of talent. Of course, by the way, 3 wins in a row in the Club Series. That's got to feel really good as well.
That does feel good, but you can't get too comfortable here. Like there is a lot of great drivers. You can't get complicit. I mean, that just makes me want to work extra hard. I mean, I know Kellen told me he put in like 400 laps of practice, and he's coming for me. There's a lot of talent here, so I am not getting comfortable.
Exactly. That people don't realize is, yeah, there's so many cars, but there's a lot of talent here in the PCA Club Division. All right, anyone you want to thank?
Man, thanks for you guys. Thanks, Princess, for sponsoring this, and the PCA. I appreciate you guys having me on.
3-time winner Ryan Cowley, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Well, and of course, that does it for us here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Man, an hour of racing just flew by here. Season number 14 of PCA Sim Racing. Of course, we couldn't do it without our title sponsor, Princess Cruises. Next, a couple weeks from now, one of my favorite facilities, Motorland, Oregon. You can catch it here on Thursday, October 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern here on Race Spot TV. Of course, we want to thank Princess Cruises for being the title sponsor of the 2025 PCA Racing Series, official cruise vacation partner, Series 13. They offer exclusive, or Series 14, I should say. They offer exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries and a fleet of 16 elegant ships, sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA Concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. That's 833-679-2188. For Ramiro, Augustine Cisneros, and everybody here at RaceBot TV, I'm Jeremy Scott. Remember to keep up between the ditches, always keep it pointed forward and greasy side down. We'll see you next time. Take care.